Wild Times.
Woo! Trying to do the thing. Trying to do the thing.
Poor
We're
COVID
back.
boy.
We're back, and I sound great. Episode 88 of the Wild Times podcast, the COVIDiest podcast on the air. How are you guys?
I'm great. I'm
Fucking way
thrilled
better
right
than you,
now.
man.
No, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good. That was very unfortunate timing. I do, however, have the Rona, so I think the Brosners are aware of this. If you're tuning in for the first time, I am your host, Forrest Galante. I am a walking biohazard because I have COVID. Patrick DeLuca has also had COVID, was unaffected, is obviously a much stronger person than I am, and Peter is a super spreader because he has no symptoms whatsoever, but probably has had it for 2.5 years.
Yeah, from
Yes.
day one, baby.
Zero question.
I've had every variant.
Variant.
Forrest, I feel like you were you just don't worry about this shit, right? You were one of the people who made me feel okay about not taking, you were like, I don't take anti-malarial. You're like, I just don't want to take extra shit.
Yeah.
But you took the vaccine as soon as it was available to you.
I did.
But you just lived your life pretty much
Correct.
the whole time. Like, even during this big, scary lockdown, I feel like you were like, I got to live my life.
Yeah. I don't believe in living in fear. And by the way, I don't think this is what everybody should do because then the virus would probably be worse. But, I won't say that I did everything normally because I wasn't, going to house parties and going to bars and things like that. But I wasn't willing to lock myself in my house and be a complete shut-in and, be terrified of the pandemic. I remember saying this, and it's kind of funny. Do you guys remember when COVID started? There was that whole lockdown and everybody stay indoors.
Oh yeah.
And I was on here going, don't stay indoors. Go for a hike. Go swimming. Go to the beach. And then for a little while, immediately after we said that, there was don't go outside even. You're a bad, irresponsible person if you do that. And I was like, well, I just shot myself in the foot because I just said everybody should do that. But I sort of stand by that, which was I can't imagine in any scenario, regardless of the situation, living a life in fear of something. So yeah, just get on with living my life.
Well, yeah.
Not at age 32, maybe if you're 80 and you're like, I want to watch my grandkids grow up, I'll just...
Of course.
Yeah.
And it all, I don't have any pre-existing conditions. I'm healthy overall. There's variables, but my variables are just get on with your life,
Well,
live your life.
it's also
you
not
you get sick.
It's not like you didn't do anything. I mean, you got the vaccine. You stayed away from... you typically stay away from people anyways because you're out... Or you just with your tight circle, mushroom hunting or going somewhere, whatever. It's not... you just... And you excluded the bars and the fucking house parties, man, which is where everything basically spread, which was
exactly.
So
let me ask you this, Forrest, just because, a lot of people like hearing other people's stories, especially because probably 80% of people listening right now also have COVID.
Exactly.
What made you get tested? Did you just come down with something?
So my guy that I work out with at the gym every day texted me and he's like, hey bro, sorry, but I just tested positive for COVID. I'm feeling a little bad. And I was like, oh, that sucks. So I stopped going to the gym. Felt absolutely fine, skipped a whole week of going to the gym because I was like, I don't know who else has it, whatever. And then I started to have a bit of a headache and a little bit of an itchy throat. So
Gotcha.
He told me he had COVID on Monday, and I started to have a headache and an itchy throat on Friday. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, I probably have it. I ordered some COVID tests, and I started taking them, and I've been taking them regularly, blah, blah, to see, do I still have it? Can I go back out in public? Blah, blah, blah. But I forced myself to go and jump in the ocean without a wetsuit every day during COVID.
in the Pacific, right? The Pacific Ocean, which is very, very cold.
Yep. Yeah, especially this time of year. It's January. But
Now, why did you do that? Just...
Whenever I haven't had a cold in years, but whenever I used to get colds and stuff, in college, I'd always go dive in the ocean. I swear, something about that, shock of the cold water felt like it, woke up my immune system, it kicked it into overdrive. It's probably absolute nonsense and probably contrary in scientific backing, but that's how I felt.
It does have scientific backing.
Well, I don't know. I'm guessing on all of this, but I was just if I go and shock myself, it like kicks the system into overdrive. And so it's been years since I've had a cold or anything like that. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I used to do, which is going to go jump in the ocean for a second, sort of shock the system. Did it every day, you know. I never felt terrible. I felt bad, and I sounded I was like really bad for a few days. But never felt terrible.
Good. All right.
Well, happy you're alive. Happy everything's good.
Yeah, it was nice to see the text this morning that you're ready to pod. Your voice was working again. Yep. I want to have a little bit of a theme to this podcast. We'll do the news. We'll do the Battle Royale.
Okay.
But with all of this sort of thylacine stuff that's been out there, us and Neil Waters, we had Cookie on, and it seems like the viewers really like all this stuff. I want to kind of do like, not definitive, because I didn't tell you about this and you're not prepared.
Correct.
But I want to talk thylacine for a little bit.
Sure.
All right.
I assume that's the noise a thylacine made. Is that right? Accurate?
Do you have new audio bites? Is this going to be a thing all podcast?
Maybe they sounded like a hyena. I don't know.
He has new audio bites. Okay.
No, they hiss. They hissed the thylacine, didn't they?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep, that's what they did.
Okay, so I was reading an article because you had talked about the Papua New Guinea theory, and so I just wanted to like read about it as up, drinking alone last night. So I came across this article about sort of this island that's I think on the Indonesia side of the Wallace Line called Irian Jaya.
Uh-huh.
And this is this really unexplored island where, they had fossil evidence, or they found a jawbone to show that the thylacine had once lived there. But there's this cool thing where there are some there's some native villages there where they talk about this sort of canine type creature with a giant mouth, which I didn't know. Like there's a little bit of the sort of local lore kind of thing. Was this one of the sort of reasons that you had originally thought if we got a third season of Extinct or Alive that maybe we'd go to either New Guinea or Irian Jaya?
It's yes and no. So at one point in time, thylacine, and we know this, and there are multiple subspecies of thylacine, by the way. The largest one, which name I'm blanking on right now, but it's like thylacine, I can't remember the Latin name because I'm on the spot, but there are multiple subspecies of thylacine, right? The largest one ranged in Papua New Guinea, but regardless, at one point in time, thylacine ranged from New Guinea, not just Papua New Guinea, but New Guinea is, it's two countries put together. It's West Papua and Papua New Guinea, the Indonesian side and Papua New Guinea. Australia and Tasmania, all the way down. And that's a huge geographical area. I think a lot of people don't realize how big just Australia is. And now you're adding in two other countries. It's funny because if you look on a map, especially of Papua New Guinea, if you pull this up, anybody that's listening to this, and just look at the roads in Papua New Guinea, there's like 3 in the whole country. And if you look in West Papua, there's like 0. Like the whole center of the country doesn't have a road. Anyway, the reason that it's so fascinating is what happened was there were thylacine all the way down, PNG, Australia, Tasmania. Then humans came over around 4,000 years ago. And with them, when they settled these regions, they brought with them from Asia side, they brought with them dogs, dingoes. And so a lot of people don't know this, but dingoes are actually not a native animal to Australia, right? This is an animal that was introduced by people about 4,000 years ago. And the dingoes primarily outcompeted the thylacine. Now the reason that, look at that. So zoom in. Mm-hmm. Sorry, if you're listening on audio and not watching on YouTube, we're looking at a map of PNG. Those are the only roads in the country. Right, and if you think about the size of the country,
amazing.
Now zoom out, crazy. Peter, and go over to West Papua. Just scroll left, and you'll see there's none. Like that's it in PNG, and West Papua has nothing. It's wild, and there's villages all throughout it. And we'll circle back. I'm going a very long-winded way of answering Patrick's question, but
no, it's cool. It's interesting. This
so there are thylacine all the way. People came over from Indonesia side, from the Asian side, 4,000 years ago, brought with them dogs, hunting dogs, which are basically dingoes. They got out, they roamed around, and the dingoes, as traditional mammals and not marsupial carnivores, were better predators than thylacine. So they outcompeted them in most of their range. Now, that works for a couple of reasons and doesn't work for a couple of reasons with regards to the thylacine theory. dingoes are like a plains animal. They like open, spacey areas. They're not a heavy jungle area. Well, most of Papua New Guinea is a heavy jungle area, right? And different species, as I said, of thylacine would be affected differently by dingoes. The largest of which, and I'll figure out the name of it. This is
there were 7 subspecies. One that was as small as a house cat, and then up to the biggest one, which is like the size of a dog.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't have the name of it though.
Yeah, and
I also, once you're done with this, I have an amazing bombshell for you.
Okay.
I
saw him smirking, and I was like,
I saw him smirking too, and I was curious. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that we are mentioned in a new book about thylacine.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my God.
This
is
Thylacinus
fantastic.
potens was the largest one, Potns, and somewhere. See if I can find it. Like, here's a pretty good graphic if you're looking for like the different sizes compared to human beings.
Oh yeah, that big one is stout too.
Exactly.
It's like a big pit bull.
Exactly. And Potenus was the one that was in Papua New Guinea. So it was the largest. So it had the best chance of competing with dingoes. While there are dingoes and singing dogs and things like that in Papua New Guinea, they prefer different habitat to what thylacine prefer traditionally. Now, that sort of leads to the idea that thylacine could still be living if unaffected by dingo in certain region and different species and so on and so forth. So that's a very broad strokes way of looking at it. That also very definitively explains why thylacine existed in Tasmania up until very recently, where they were driven to extinction in mainland Australia 4,000 years ago, because dingoes got into Australia and dingoes were never introduced into Tasmania, which is what allowed thylacine to continue down there. So they are a delicate animal, and as long as they were geographically isolated from people, geographically isolated from dingoes, whether that's in Papua New Guinea, West Papua, Australia, parts of Tasmania, they could continue to exist.
Yeah. Go ahead, Peter.
I want one as a pet. I mean, look how cute this
They're
is.
great.
This is the cutest feline that I've ever seen. I love when they curl up.
Nope, not feline.
That's true. It's not, but it's hideous. But it's curled into a little bagel ball, and I love when animals do this little curl thing, and it always just gets me right in the subcockles of my heart.
Well, this Orion Jaya place, as Forrest mentioned, it's a place that it did historically live. This place is pretty unexplored. It's on the Wallace Line, which is basically a way of saying it's awfully fucking dangerous to go in there. And, the last expedition that went in there, they found 4 new species of mammal, right? So it is truly quite unexplored. But here's what I just got super excited about. So a study was published in 2021 by an Australian professor and also the chair of environmental sustainability at the University of Tasmania.
What's his name? What's the professor's name?
Barry William Brooke published a study in 2021 in which he doesn't purport that it's still around. He basically purports that it probably went extinct much later.
Yeah. Yes, I know the study. I remember that study. I think I referenced it in one of the shows, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, he's saying more likely between the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yep.
And then it goes on to talk about, the reason behind this was the lack of confirmed sightings during that time was there just wasn't a wide deployment of trail cameras yet. And one of the things he references is that trail cameras were recently used to confirm the presence of the Zanzibar leopard.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
Come on, that's
fantastic.
It's a real study by a real guy at a real university. That's really fucking cool.
I love it. No, it's fantastic. And so it's interesting. There's this guy that reached out to me recently. He's an Australian filmmaker, and I've been communicating with him back and forth. So as you can imagine, I get a lot of people sending me fucking weirdo stuff, right? Like, the big one is, you're an idiot, there are Black Panthers, my pappy saw one. And I get those a lot. Secondly, I get a lot of like thylacine sighting nonsense. But this guy reached out to me, youngish guy, he's an Australian filmmaker, lives in Sydney, and he's worked in Papua New Guinea extensively, and his parents are from PNG, or at least one of his parents. And he told an interesting story about how while he was working in PNG, he gave these pilots a bunch of photos of different animals. And one of the animals was the New Guinea singing dog, the Highland singing dog. One of them was a tree kangaroo. One of them was a thylacine. And he gave these pilots these different things. And this one pilot came back from this region that is in Irian Jaya in West Papua in the Central Valley near this big mountain. I could point it out on a map. I can't pronounce any of the names. And he says, so there's two groups of foreigners that go into this valley. One is this Indonesian trekking company that's like, it's this incredibly expensive thing. It's fly-in only, and you fly in, you land, you trek up the tallest mountain in West Papua. And, it's like only a handful of people do it and blah, 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 blah. It's like incredibly expensive. Nobody in the Indonesian fixer side, the trekking company side, speaks any English. And then the pilot was the other guy. So he gives them all these photos. And independently of each other, both the pilot and the Indonesian trekking company, the pilot reports that, hey, when I've flown into this area where this mountain is, where occasionally tourists go to, the locals have reported seeing not this one, like no to the singing dog, which is known in the country, by the way, but wrong altitude, wrong elevation. And no, they haven't seen this tree kangaroo, but yes, they all know this, the thylacine. Now, independently of that, this guy was telling me how the Indonesian trekking company that he emailed all these photos to go, hey, if you do a trek with us, no way you'll see these singing dogs. We've never seen them. You might see tree kangaroo in the lowland, but it's a different species. And yeah, about 3 times we, as tourists from Indonesia, have seen this, and pointed to the thylacine picture. So 2 different reports from 2 independent sources that happen to have gone into the same very remote location in central West Papua have told this guy that I'm been communicating with, this Australian filmmaker, that they believe that the thylacine is in this area. Now, to add to that, which is pretty fascinating, and this is the thing that got me really talking to this guy. He sent me tons of information, pictures, and satellite images, and all kinds of stuff. And he's not like a quack. He's like really, really fascinated by it.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
He showed me the geographical area. Now, when you look at it, in fact, Peter, go ahead, pull up that West Papua map again one more time, if you don't mind.
Sure. One sec.
He showed me this area, and he pointed out this mountain. I can't remember. I can dig through my email and find all the answers to all of this. But if you look at Irian Jaya, if you look at West Papua specifically, not the PNG side, the central valley of the entire country is geographically isolated by these mountains, basically on all sides. Mm-hmm. And as we just saw, there are pretty much no roads. So you have this whole area that is impenetrable to dingoes because it's so zoom in there, Peter, and you could kind of see zoom in a little bit more, stay that's good right there, and then switch over to layers to your satellite imagery, or just go terrain, that's fine. Look dead in center of the screen right now. There you go, right there. See where the river is? Look at how there's a giant valley in the center. Yep, your cursor's over it right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's a giant valley in the center of West Papua. There are 0 roads. There are basically no towns. There's one village up the one tributary of the river, and it's fully geographically surrounded by impenetrable mountains that nobody can get to. That big mountain that I was referring to, you see it there with the little green mountain symbol. That's the mountain that occasionally people will fly in and trek up that mountain, but it's like super expensive, rich people on expedition kind of thing, private helicopters, blah, blah, blah. But look at this whole central valley, which is good thylacine habitat, completely cut off from the rest of the world by truly impenetrable mountains, because the mountains in Papua and West Papua are unbelievable. I mean, not even the local hunting parties are like capable of traversing them. I mean, they're like the Annamites. They're just like, they're unpassable. And so, yeah, you just have this whole giant valley sitting in the center of this island, completely biologically unexplored, completely unpenetrated, nobody living there, only the odd hunting party and trekking company going in there, and no, as far as I know, like no legitimate biological surveys or studies, and absolutely, definitely not any large-scale camera trap surveys. So,
right. I mean, think about the amount of money it would take to go in there. You basically are going to have to go over on a ship that has a chopper on board.
Yeah. Yep.
Would be the only reasonable way.
Right, and then you need a chopper to get you in there. Keep in mind, this is in the heart of West Papua, which is I think it's Aida, but cannibal territory. And this is not like a fallacy, like nonsense, like TV thing. This is where cannibals still live and actively hunt each other and eat each other. This whole valley that's impenetrable. Not only is it not unreasonable to think that thylacine could be there, although it is a long shot, it's not unreasonable to think that there could be 8 other species of megafauna there. I mean, think about the saola, right? Discovered in the 90s, an animal the size of a cow in Vietnam. Like, Vietnam has a gazillion people everywhere. Like, like everywhere. Like, even up in the Annamites and stuff, you have these pretty big towns. Like, they're really not little villages. They're like bordering on the word city. And it wasn't until 95 that we discovered the saola existed. And that's an animal the size of a cow running around, Granted, that's like a special case, but the place that a large megafauna still exists that we don't know about, whether it's thylacine, whether it's thylacoleo, whether it's something completely undescribed, is that area we just looked at on a map, for sure.
It's pretty amazing. Nice. I was looking at some, because I, of course, being a TV producer, you got to look at everything. And so I did a lot of research on I'm going to butcher the name, Korowai, I think is the... Korowai. Uh-huh. It's funny, there's an Italian photojournalist who went in there in 2019 and got amazing photos.
The stilted ones, right, where he stayed in the canopy with them, and and they're all covered in the white paint. I know the article. It's I wrote a pitch on that on basically reliving that, and never went anywhere. But.
Amazing photos, and he, got into the whole Kakuo ritual. Mm-hmm. Where that is what leads to the cannibalism. It's when someone gets sick and they think there's a demon inside them.
Right.
And, and then as you're researching it, you'll find I found 10 anthropologists who had never been there, who had written articles being like, nah, they don't still do that.
Oh, dude. So where is this going? Is this going on YouTube or is this going on the Patreon? Because I need to watch my words.
YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube?
Watch your words,
fine.
Baby bird.
I will still watch my words, but I'll tell you guys a story. So exactly to what Patrick just said, and I don't mean to get on like a big
By the way,
here.
the unedited version of this story will go on the Patreon.
Yes, I'm happy.
So after this podcast, we will have you tell the full Patreon version.
Okay, you got it. That's fine. So the for public appearance version is, I know the exact article you're talking about. I know about the tribe and how they eat their. As you said, so they'd eat their sick or their dying as a means to basically curb an evil spirit before it spread on to others, right? And there was a whole omen, and there's like a lot to it. But so I wrote this up, right? And I pitched it to...
As did every other production company in LA.
I'm sure. And I wrote it up, and you probably did the same thing, and I pitched it, right? And I pitched it with me as the host, which I thought made sense because I'm an adventure guy, blah, blah, blah. And I pitched it, and... I won't say who, but who I pitched it to really liked it, right? And they were like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I had no way. Like, we have never, at that time, they're like, nobody has pitched this with, like, the right angle and the right person to go in and do it. And I was like, great. Like, I've always, as everybody that listens to this podcast knows, PNG's number one on my bucket list, and Papua, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I pitched it. And then, like, weeks go by, 3 weeks, whatever. I'm edge of my seat waiting every day to hear that, like, I got the green light to develop a special to go and, hang out with cannibals in the middle of West Papua. And finally, I get a call on the book scheduled with said person and said network. And who hops on the call? This person and about 3 pimple-faced teenagers, right? And they weren't teenagers. They're probably in their early 20s. And... the person that I have my Zoom with introduces me and says, this is, our research team, and unfortunately we can't continue with the show. And I'm like, why is that? Like, you told me you loved it, like, you asked me for a budget, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, well, our research team here has dug up evidence to say that cannibals aren't actually real in today's world. And I'm looking at these 3 19-year-old, research team, like, fresh out of college, that are just literally sitting on Google while smoking a vape. And they're the ones saying... They're the ones saying that cannibals aren't real for that mega corporation network. And I'm sitting here going, they've never been there. I don't know what they're reading, but they don't know what they're talking about. Like, who are these people to dictate what is or isn't real when we could go in there and do a show? And if it's not real, we'll say it's not real when we get back. But, like, This is a published thing that the Karawai tribe do this, and it's very well known in the anthropological world, and yet here are 3 pimple-faced teenagers saying that cannibalism is gone. It's not real.
It's so crazy because a big production company that I was doing some work with had a paid development, probably for a different network, about the same thing.
Okay.
And they made a beautiful deck and a whole well-researched thing and a production plan and how are we going to get all the stuff.
Yep.
And they had this. It may have been the same network actually, because they had the same thing happen.
No
where
way.
They were like, yeah, the research team. I had one of my biggest developments that I ever did. And I don't want to get too sidetracked.
No, it's
interesting. It was a team of hackers, a big streaming network, one of the biggest scripted producers in the sort of crime mystery space, was working with him on it, and massive development. Had basically the talent was this group of hackers that is like one of the biggest group of like white hat, sort of gray hat, good guy hackers.
That's rad.
All of this stuff, and ultimately at the 11th hour, the streaming network said that their internal, computer guys said that there's no criminals doing anything on the dark web anymore.
Oh, come on.
I swear to God, killed 12 weeks of a full team of people working on it because some computer guy at the thing was like, nah, there's no crime on the dark web anymore.
The hilarious part is this.
Oh, Peter, yeah, why don't you talk to this? Because I have a friend of the pod, actually, and I won't name him, who I have seen order drugs off of the dark web. I literally sat and watched him do it, and this was like 2 years ago. This was not a long time ago.
Right.
There's a literal, first of all, there's a literal cryptocurrency that was built called Monero that's it's based around privacy so that you can buy drugs and other things on the dark web without being tracked. That's why the currency, privacy, whatever, but that's what everybody uses it for. And also these guys are morons. There is a subreddit called Darknet Market Busts, DNB Busts, where they talk about, it's just posts of all these ridiculous busts that go on of people getting busts with like 200 pounds of fentanyl they were shipping out, all these pressed Xanax bars. It is
Peter,
it is
I got
flourishing.
A question for you. That sucks, Patrick. And sometimes I just wonder, I want to just rip my hair out because I'm like, who are you listening to and why? And why do you not trust the people whose job are to give you the correct information?
And the people who are willing to go there and make an earnest documentary where it's just as satisfying of an ending to say this is something they used to do, they don't do it anymore.
Correct.
It's still about the adventure, right? You're going to get malaria. You're going to fucking trek through amazing jungle habitat. You're going to eat bugs.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
Well, is there any chance? Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask you this. So I don't know what the dark web is. If I went to Google and typed in dark web, do I get there? How do you get to a dark web? No. Okay. It doesn't really matter. We don't need a step by step. The question is this.
I love how you ask a question.
No.
Okay.
Sir,
I got you.
No,
All
I'm
right.
still getting to my question.
Carry on.
It's a question and it's a pitch to Patrick at the same time.
Okay.
Why don't we take world-renowned wildlife biologist Forrest Galante, team him up with the group of badass white hat hackers that you just mentioned, get Retep as a consultant, and bust people, and here comes my question, if this is happening, Peter, wildlife trafficking is the 3rd largest industry in the world, illegal industry in the world. Is wildlife trafficking happening on the dark web? And if so, how do we go in there and bust it up and ruin it?
That's a very interesting question that I unfortunately don't know the answer to, but if it was going on, it would definitely be happening there because it's set up so that you can do things of this nature and communicate, and it's all encrypted and goes through all your identities obfuscated. So
it's got to be happening, right? People got to be selling tigers and cobras and all this kind of shit on the dark web because you're not listing it on Craigslist, and there's definitely a huge market for it. I mean, it's got to be happening on the dark web, wildlife trafficking.
Hey, we need those pimple-faced researchers to get on this and see if it's happening.
They don't know what the dark web is.
A couple years ago, just going back to the Cannibal thing, I did a show for National Geographic that was called The Atlas of Cursed Places. It was actually a really good show.
I remember that.
I'm proud of. It's a cool show. But one of the episodes we did was in Romania, and when I was researching Romania and just cool shit to film there, I had found a piece that was done for like Vice Romania. Mm-hmm. It was like a 12-minute short film that a filmmaker in Romania had made, where he went to this little village in a remote part of Romania and found this guy who was the last vampire hunter of Romania, right?
Cool.
And purported to be this thing where they have a legend in the village the village which we went to. They had a legend of this thing called a moroi, right? And it's their version of a vampire. But basically, when a relative dies and then someone in the family gets sick shortly thereafter, it is the relative has turned into a moroi who's been buried, right? Okay. So their spirit is kind of coming back from the dead and infecting the relative. And so what this guy, as the vampire hunter of the village, he goes to the graveyard, digs up the body, takes the heart, brings it back, turns the heart into a milkshake. The person who's sick drinks it and gets better.
Gnarly.
So I saw this thing and I was like, I got in touch with the filmmaker because I wanted to do it for our TV show because nobody saw this piece on Vice Romania. I was like, this would be fucking awesome. So basically he's like, no, they don't have phones. The way you do it is you drive down there 7 hours and you go to the village and knock on his door. I can come with you because he trusts me a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's like, but that's the only way to get a hold of him. So now we have a decision to make on a TV production schedule. Do we get into cars, drive 7 hours with the potential he's not there, or he's, whatever. So we did the whole thing. We went. It was awesome. It's all covered on the Romania episode. This guy's name was Mircea Mitrica. And we went. He didn't want to talk to us in the village because he didn't want any attention. So we went to his goat fold where he keeps his goats about 10 miles outside of town.
Or just
no, they're just
regular.
That's
goats.
Just what he does for his job. Is he just raises goats and eats them.
Got it.
And we went and fucking talked to this guy. He obviously didn't speak English, but through a translator. And his story's unfucking believable. When he was 16, he became anointed the vampire hunter of the town because he was so brave. Mm-hmm. And they still do it. They still, as of 2 years ago, when someone gets sick shortly after a relative dies, this is what they do. And it's just their custom, and it's fucking awesome. And it couldn't have been a more pleasant guy to talk to either.
Yeah.
Can I suggest that we anoint Forrest, the vampire hunter of Southern California?
The greater Santa Barbara area?
He's the bravest guy I know in Southern California.
That's too bad, because I think it would be such a rad show. First of all, that's a scary proposition, right? Like, if you had sold that show and you said, hey, Patrick, can you come out in the field with me? We're going to have an adventure. This one feels... I don't know if I would do it.
I would have soft pitched it to you, though. I wouldn't have been like, hey, Patrick, we're going to the middle. I would have done like a typical Forrest Galante, like, look, Pat, dude, it'd be awesome if you came with. We're going to go to this place, beautiful tropical coconuts. I mean, we're going to drink many coconuts. I'll bring a bottle of rum. I'll get you super fired up. And then you'll be like, okay, well, where are we going? I'll be, it's like Indonesia-ish. Like, it's in that region. Your head's going to bikinis and white sand beaches, and I just slowly leak out the fact that we're going to the heart of cannibal country, over a few weeks, and then see how you respond. But
dude, Pat's his meat looks very thin and grimy. I don't think they'd want to eat him.
No, he's too lean. He's too lean.
Too lean. All
he
muscle.
Would not be tender at all. No, he'd be
the Karawai, their tree houses. Pull it up if you can, Peter, while we're talking here. The Karawai tree houses. They're fucking incredible, man. They have tree houses that are like 100 foot up a tree.
Yeah. And they're nomadic, so they only live in those for part of the season, and then they abandon them and go and build other ones somewhere else. I mean, it's amazing. I can't remember it all because it was years ago that I did all the research and the deck and everything. But no, they're absolutely fascinating, the houses they live in.
I just want to double down on something, too. This Italian photojournalist who went in there, The tribe had not seen a white person in 45 years.
Yeah,
right?
Isn't that crazy?
And he goes in 2019, witnesses all this, writes about it, photographs it, and then some dorks at a network are like, nah, it's not true.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened to both me and you, it sounds like.
Wait, so what happened? Wasn't there a story recently where a guy got basically killed for doing this with the tribe of cannibals? Did you guys hear about that?
Yes, not cannibals.
They weren't cannibals.
Yeah. So there's an island off Singapore? I want to say Singapore. You can look it up. If you Google like missionary killed by tribe or something like that in Asia, it'll come right up. And it's this island. I'm blanking on the name of it. I want to say it's off the coast of Singapore.
It's called the tribe he tried to contact. It's called North Sentinel Island. It's part
Sentinel
of India.
Island. Yep,
part of
Sentinel
India.
Island. It's part of India, but if you look, it's not like India adjacent. It's like in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, it's North Sentinel Island, and a missionary tried to go in there to spread the word of God, and it's been, like the India, who I believe owns it, as Patrick said, is like, nobody can go there. Like, these people they want to be left alone. They want to live their way. They're completely uncontacted. And this missionary decided to like charter a boat and take the people that I remember the story, the people that he chartered the boat from were like, we will not take you there. We'll take you to like outside of arrow reach of the island. And then he like had to row in on a canoe or a kayak or a dinghy or something, stepped foot on the island, and just like 40 arrows came flying out of the bushes at him. And that was the end of him. So,
God.
The lesson there is maybe don't. And it's funny because you think of it from both sides. He thought, like, I'm going to go there and save these people from eternal damnation, right? Which I'm against, by the way. Like, I don't think that's a good thing to be doing, is like trying to brainwash people into your religion. But that's what he thought, right? He thought he was trying to spread the word of God and do something good for them. They're like, fuck off. Like, leave us alone. Like,
they literally,
they don't want your bullshit.
Up. Yeah, it's like fucking medieval times. Dude, arrows are the first defense. You just fucking step on this island and you got 40 arrows coming at you. Sounds fucking terrifying.
I say good for the people of North Sentinel Island for being like, we don't want to be part of the rest of the world. Like, we want to stay on our island. We got things pretty good over here. Like, do not come here. And I love that. I think it's awesome.
It is, and
it's
they're
a fascinating story. Jeez.
Yeah, they're right because like, they don't even know about COVID, first of all. They don't have the news. They're not watching TV. Their brains aren't rotting. Dude, I was at the gym. I'm at the gym, and there's 1,000 fucking TVs in front of me. And it's Fox News, Friends, CNN, some stupid TLC show. Like, and I'm just like, I cannot look at these televisions. I just look straight forward because it's just like a disease of fucking, so-called entertainment. Like, the news headlines are absurd. It's just like coronavirus, millions killed, like, and then like CNN or Fox said something like just Biden sucking dicks all day in the Oval Office. It's just like mental, dude.
Also, like, so this guy, John Allen Chow, who, he had believed, he wrote a bunch of this stuff in letters. He thought this island was Satan's last stronghold on earth. I'm not making fun. I'm really not making fun of the dead guy.
That's crazy, though.
But so he chartered these two fishermen. It was illegal. They were arrested eventually. But he made like 5 attempts over the course of 2 days. So they stopped about 2,000 meters from the shore, warned him not to go closer. He took a canoe. They came out and gave a hostile response. He went back. He tried to go back again and speak to them. They erupted in laughter. Then he eventually tried to go back, and a young boy shot a metal-tipped arrow, and that he was holding a Bible, and it went through the Bible that he was holding on his canoe, which feels like that's a pretty good warning shot. And then finally, 2 days later, he said, I'm going in. He told the fishermen to leave without him, but they didn't. He was committed to this. He went to the shore, and the fishermen said almost immediately they saw them dragging his dead body. So they warned him.
Leave him alone. You know what I mean? Just fucking leave him alone. Like, who's the idiot here? And I know you said you're not making fun of the dead guy, but like, it's Satan's last stronghold. First of all, shut up. Secondly, like, just if it is, do you really want to go there? And like, what's the logic here? And I know people probably say the same thing about me trying to go find cannibals in Papua New Guinea, but it's like, what's the logic behind this? Like, you know,
the difference is that you just said it. He's going there to convince these people to also make poor decisions based on faith with no scientific backup or knowledge or anything, and they don't want any of it. They already have their own brainwashing system. They don't need like somebody to come in there with this book. The book, man. I mean, have they ever even seen a book? They were probably like, what is that? His shield? What the fuck? What is this thing? But it's unbelievable that he went in there after the fucking metal-tipped arrow went through the Bible, like, and still went. Like, that's just nuts. That's crazy. I'm not making fun of the guy. I mean, I kind of am, but it's ridiculous.
You are. We both are. If you type in North Sentinel Island on Google, there's 1 5-star review for the island and nothing else.
What does it say?
That's great.
It doesn't. No. I tried to see if there was any written. There's nothing. It's just a blank 5-star review. But somebody's probably going to look at that and be like, that sounds like a nice place. There's a really pretty picture. It's 5 stars. I mean, let's go.
You should go there.
The one guy with a phone there did it.
After he got killed, the Indian authorities sort of started heading towards the island to try and like either recover the body or investigate it. And ultimately they were just like, no. They just were like, it was self-defense. They can't. It's done.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. That's the right thing to do. What are they going to do? Like go and ruin this entire island's like uncontactedness to try and get some guy's body back?
This is how the Crusades started, I heard. Same exact thing. One guy with a fucking Bible on a canoe, and you saw what happened there.
Maybe we could do a Truman Show type of thing where we just watch North Sentinel Island from like satellites.
With drones, just get a bunch of drones buzzing around. That'll confuse the hell out of them.
Oh God!
Yeah, maybe it'd be like watching a Real Housewives type thing. I mean, maybe they're like really sassy and catty with each other.
I bet they are.
Just like hang microphones
big puffed up
from the
lips
drones.
and huge fake tits, like implanted coconuts. It's basically fucking like fucking Wakanda over there. It's like this fantasy island. There's like cities. They're getting coconut breast implants, and crabs are pinching their lips to puff them up, and the real housewives of North Sentinel. It's like a big thing going on over there.
Pretty soon you're gonna have a Selling Sentinel show, a spin-off from Selling Sunset.
Yeah, totally.
Very good. Very good.
There's some story. I got backlogged on Brosner DMs while I was down with the Rona. A handful of them were, hey, hope you get better, hope you're doing well. Peter told us all you have COVID. Nothing in your life is private. And then
this is on the Patreon.
I appreciate it. And then I got some other pretty interesting ones. My favorite one came from @Mahobi, who said there was a clogged cooling pipe in an Australian steel mill. And I was like, okay, who cares? The reason for it was a 2.7 meter long catfish. Now, this got my attention. I thought this was pretty interesting. Have you guys seen this story yet?
No.
Have not.
So there's this clogged pipeline somewhere in Australia, and you just see this giant chain from this industrial plant pulling this massive catfish up out of this industrial area. This giant catfish had just swum into the pipeline and died and totally shut down the steel mill. It was crazy.
Here, I pulled it up on Reddit. Let's take a look here.
Yeah, look at this thing. Just this beast of a fish that had swum into a pipeline at the steel mill. Yeah.
Have you ever gone noodling?
Never, and I've tried to go twice and not made it. I would love to go. It looks like so much fun.
I don't think it looks fun. I think it looks fucking scary.
I don't know what it is. What's noodling?
Noodling is when you go into the South, and it's specifically in Oklahoma, I think is the hub of it. That's where we tried to book anyway. And you, in the springtime, it's like early summer, late spring, early summer, the catfish are holed up, like the big blue catfish are holed up in breeding season, and they're defending their nests. And so you go in this super muddy water, I mean like 0 inches of visibility, and you feel around for holes in the riverbank, and you stick your arm in, And if you stick your arm in one with a giant catfish that's pissed off, it bites your arm. And when it bites your arm, you stick your arm in further and grab onto the catfish by the gill plate and pull it out. And you can just it's called noodling because you take your arm and your arm's the bait and you stick it in these holes like a noodle. And all of a sudden you just feel this 50-pound thing latch onto your arm and you just grab and pull it out. And you pull out these giant catfish that look like that thing we just saw on Reddit. And I mean, I think the first time would be scary because there's also snapping turtles, alligator snapping turtles. Some of the areas have alligators, and you're wading around in this muck water, like sticking your arms in these holes. I mean, I think the very first one would be scary, but I do want to try it.
But dude, there's like all these pictures online of like, 14-year-old girls with this, giant catfish latched on their arm, and they're smiling, holding up the fish with just their arm covered in their own blood.
Yes, that definitely
And people have lost a hand noodling, and people have drowned because they couldn't free themselves. Like, it doesn't sound good at all.
Do catfish have teeth?
They have like sandpapery teeth, like a mouthful of like little sharp, jagged sort of sandpapery type mouths.
But they have those stingers, right? Like those stingers on the side there of their face?
The barbels, no, those don't sting. Those are for feeling. They use those because they live in such dirty water. The whiskers, also known as barbels, are used to feel around. They're actually dexterous, like fingers.
I didn't know that.
So that when they kind of see anything, they can feel around with them. No, It's really cool. They're super fun fish to have in a fish tank because you can watch them like using their chin barbels to touch things and very tactile with them. It's really cool.
And with a catfish, you never have to clean the tank. The dirtier, the better for them.
They do like it pretty gross.
They're very easy. Are they easy to keep, Forrest, I would imagine? Because they just eat whatever?
Very, very simple. Yeah,
could you put catfish into a koi pond with your koi fish?
I have a channel cat in my koi pond.
That you caught, that you caught, or that you... No shit.
I was up cruising around the San Ynez River, and I found a little pool of water, and there was a school of like channel cats about this big in there, tiny little baby ones, and I scooped up like 6 of them, threw them all in the pond. This was like 4 years ago, and I thought, because I have a bass in that same pond as well, and I thought the bass just ate them all because I never saw them again. And then maybe a year ago, I was throwing food in the pond at night. I think I was like cleaning fish scraps because I throw all my like fish scraps in there for the turtles and koi and stuff to eat. I was like throwing fish scraps in there, and sure enough, this like foot-long black catfish came up, grabbed a chunk of fish, and disappeared. And I was like, well, at least one of them survived. And that's the only time I've ever seen it. I just don't know if it's still in there or not in there, but I think he's there.
What about a new show just called Koi Pond Monsters? Like river monsters? We'll do koi pond monsters.
Peter, if you ever end up getting married to your current girlfriend, maybe for your bachelor party, we get a nice boat, we go out, we bring a bunch of booze on the boat. You and I sit, drink, get a tan, and Forrest noodles.
Yep.
And that's just your bachelor party? Are you in for that?
But we're doing it in Daytona Beach, Florida. So I'm noodling in clear water, and it's actually just groping people that are splashing around in the shallows. It's very different.
I'm in either way.
Spring break of freshman year of college, a bunch of my friends went to Cancun, and I, of course, didn't have money for any of that. But me and my buddy on a whim were like, we got a friend in Miami, one of the guys who lived in our dorm. So we drove to Miami, had a fucking terrible time. My fake ID got taken the first night at the first bar.
Oh, no.
It sucked. We were sleeping in a camper van in our friend's driveway.
In about Miami, 40. So it's like 98 degrees out.
It was horrendous.
Yeah.
We were like, let's get out of here. Let's go to Daytona Beach. We'll have a better time there. We didn't have a better time there. We had a terrible time there. This was me at 19 with nothing to lose, a very reckless person.
Yeah.
The behavior that I witnessed, I've seen more manners from a pack of hyenas stealing a kill from a lion. I couldn't believe it.
Can you elaborate? Nice, Peter. I've never actually been to Daytona Beach. I just know the reputation. Can you elaborate a little bit on that
Give
behavior?
us a good visual. Paint me a picture.
It's a big beach, and you can drive your cars on the beach. Okay. So you're basically on this huge, like, wide beach. The sand area is super wide between where it starts and the ocean. And so it's just everyone with their white pickup trucks driving drunk right past you. So that part of it's terrifying. And then basically, every 60 feet is an impromptu wet T-shirt contest.
Interesting.
So you basically have like women in thongs and just like really drunk frat boys, like just like dumping beer over the women's heads and like tearing their shirts off. And so we were like, the beach
like
is
Porky's.
scary. Yeah, like we got to get off the beach. And then
beach is scary.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
So then we attempted to go to a nightclub and it had the worst 2 hours of our life. It was so bad. We were so happy to just get in the car the next day and drive back to Oswego, New York.
That's funny.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. They can't all be stellar trips, especially
That's
not
for
when
sure.
you're young. Although typically you have a good time when you do shit like that when you're young. I mean, you guys didn't.
But it's like you know when you see like really drunk people acting poorly, like on the Las Vegas Strip,
Yes.
and you're like,
yeah.
well, whatever.
I've been one of
You
those
just kind of
people.
walk around them. It's just all of those people together on one beach, drunk driving while they're on the beach.
That's like Lake Havasu with boats. I don't know if you've ever been to Lake Havasu.
I haven't.
Yeah, you familiar with its reputation?
Oh,
though?
yeah. Yeah.
So I drove out there because that's only like a 6-hour drive from Santa Barbara, maybe 10. I don't even remember anymore. We drove out there for a spring break. I think I was a freshman in college, and this is how bad it was there. Is as a freshman in college, I was like, "Ooh, this is too trashy for me," and that's really saying something because there was
Because
not
you
much
drink-
that I could. No, I mean
drink
we were
beer
there.
and semen out of a boot these days, so it's very
Exactly. We were there to have a good time, and I was like, "Ooh, this is a real lowbrow crowd over here."
Well, I'll tell you, when I drove cross country last summer, we drove whatever road we were taking, went right by Lake Havasu. Mm-hmm. I probably saw, in a 5-mile stretch, I probably saw 15 cars towing boats.
Yeah. Yep.
I will be damned if all 15 boats did not have flames or lightning bolts painted down the side.
Exactly.
Every single one.
Yeah, it's a big barbed wire band tattoo flame boat kind of, a lot of Hawaiian T-shirts with bellies that don't fit inside of them kind of vibe. It was, we had a really, really good time, but it was just...
It was scary.
You sort of just had to be like, okay, this is who I am this weekend. Like, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to get some glue-on tattoos and try and fit in for a few days.
Glue on. Well, gentlemen, what do you think? Do we have one picked out? Because I think it's time.
We do. Do the thing.
Do you know what time it is?
For what? Pat, you sound like you have COVID in that stinger. The battle royale.
All right, here it is. I like it. All right, here it is. It's from Elliot Miller. It came in through the Patreon.
Nice.
Hey, Brocast. Battle Royale idea to pass along to y'all. Used a hard y'all. Rewind all the way back to middle school. It's your class talent show. You have to select an animal that you're bringing in, a talent that the animal and you must do together, and the name of your act. Hope you all have some fun with this. Love y'all. There's a lot of y'alls in there. So, it's show and tell day in your middle school. This is submitted by Elliot Miller from the Patreon. It's show and tell day. You got to bring an animal, you got to do an act with it, and you got to name it. That is the Battle Royale.
Unbelievable. I already know exactly what I'm going to do.
Why don't you lead then, because I have given this zero thought.
Okay, I'm going to start with my animal.
Okay?
I'm going to tell you why. Because it's in middle school.
Yep.
There's only literally one thing that any middle school boy cares about. And that is, yeah. Well, for me, as a straight male, it was just hoping that I could even get a girl to look at me.
Yep.
Right?
Of course.
God, let alone maybe get to first base.
Right, of course.
So I'm going with a very cute animal that also has a fantastic talent that is in line with one of my talents.
Okay.
I am picking the fennec fox.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why later.
Okay.
Because it's so goddamn cute. All the girls, are going to be like, "Oh my god,
get
can
your
I pet the
angle.
fox?" Yeah.
Yep. It's smart, very smart. Peter, what do you got?
All right. Well, I'm going with a very dexterous, I don't know how to say it, animal that will be able to manipulate drumsticks, and he will be on drums. And he will be, well, I guess, shit, I told you my talent first, so.
It's okay.
Okay,
All right,
so drumming.
Drumming.
So
should I now
drumming-
take chimpanzee just to take that out of your repertoire to fuck
Wait,
you up?
hold on,
or
let me
should I
finish.
leave it?
We're a duo here. He's going to be playing drums with me rapping. Okay? So
Interesting.
drums
like
with
that.
me doing some rapping.
And to
Yep.
be clear, you thought this would make you popular in middle school.
Oh, dude, we crushed this fucking
Okay.
this animal.
Chimpanzee. Are you going to be doing your song that you sent me one night when you were hammered, The Little Things?
Ooh, interesting.
Oh God, I sent you that.
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, that's
Peter
really
recorded
funny.
a rap song
this is
called The
gonna be-
Little Things.
just gonna be a beat. There's no melody. It's gonna be like, have you ever seen old videos of like
Yeah,
Biggie
yeah, yeah.
Smalls or Tupac?
Yeah,
That's
it's
what it would be like.
He's beatboxing, but on a drum set.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I went to middle school, Alvin and the Chipmunks was huge, right? Huge. And although it's not the most exotic creature to pick and bring in, I'm bringing in 3 well-dressed chipmunks to class, because that way I can be like, yeah, I mean, you guys are just watching on TV. I'm living it every day of my life. One with a little red A shirt, one with a little green. I don't remember their names, but I'm bringing
Theodore
in
and
3
Simon.
chipmunks. Thank you.
Might
Bringing
not
in
know
3
about animals, know about
chipmunks.
cartoons.
Is the blue shirted chipmunk going to have a pair of spectacles?
Yes, absolutely.
Simon.
I'll have to super glue them to his head, but it'll be worthwhile. So I'm bringing in 3 chipmunks, and they're all gonna the performance that they're gonna do is the fact that they're perfectly clad in Alvin and the Chipmunks drab. You know, they're fully dressed out. One has spectacles. They've got the green, the red, and the blue T-shirts. And I'm just gonna let them go in the class and see what happens.
So wait, what's their talent?
Just being dressed.
This is awful, horrible. Also,
Okay.
this is a talent show where you're on stage. Letting them go in the class does not fit. It's not correct.
Well, I can't say that I could choreograph them to sing because
you could
that's
sing.
what Alvin. Okay, fine. I'll do the singing and they'll just run around.
Can you
because
can you
they're
give us a
chipmunks.
little taste of what your Alvin and the Chipmunks voice would sound like?
I don't even remember what it sounded like. I have COVID.
Theodore, dude.
Is that how it went? I don't even know. I don't think that's how it
You
went.
don't even know. You have
I don't know.
not
I just remember
voiced
Alvin
this
and the
talent
Chipmunks
show.
was popular, and I'm on the
Forrest
spot
is
here,
out.
and I'm bringing in
Just
3
me and you,
chipmunks.
Pat.
That's
He's
fine.
already
I'm not
out.
lost. I've still
So-
got
So
one.
drumming
to
and rapping. What's your animal and what's your animal or name?
Peter.
That's for me, right?
He has
okay.
no idea. He doesn't know what fucking planet he's on right now.
What are you talking about? Relax over there. You look like you're in jail with your fucking babushka on your head. Nice striped shirt. Fuck. All right. So my
a lot of compliments.
animal is going to be a chimpanzee. A chimpanzee that plays drums, nice heavy drumsticks, beautiful, beautiful pearl drum set with me on the voice box. Oops, ah,
Sounds good.
yeah.
It's good.
When I was a kid, I every year for Christmas I would get a new copy of the Guinness Book of World Records because I would read that shit. I thought it was fascinating. I loved
it
all
is.
the
That was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that was
loved all the
big.
strange records, and one of my goals was to be in there. And I had decided that an attainable record that I could set was the record for most baked beans eaten one by one with a toothpick in 10 minutes. Okay?
Okay.
And so I practiced this, and I have some skill. I'm good at stabbing. I'm good at
Okay.
eating quickly without blasting myself in the tongue with the toothpick.
Okay.
So, fennec foxes eat. They eat like little mealworms. I got to feed some once, and so I'm going to modify it. And we are going to on stage. Myself and the fox are going to break the speed eating record for mealworms eaten one by one with a toothpick in 10 minutes.
Very, very elaborate.
This is
Yep.
definitely going to get you some, get you laid for
Well,
sure.
Wait
I mean,
till you hear the name of the act, because
without
that's really
question.
gonna. Right. So now
Okay.
I've presented this cute fox. I've just
Yeah.
been given a blue ribbon medal for setting a world record live on stage. But now I got to kind of get rid of my like nice guy, aw shucks kind of thing that I had going on because I was like a shy kid in middle school. So
Okay.
the name of the act is going to be the Fennec Fox Fuck Boys.
Wow, FFF. Okay.
Yeah.
When you come onto
FFB.
stage,
Nice.
will you be announced like that? The Fennec Fox Fuckboys.
I'm gonna scream it into the mic,
Yeah.
and then, what got you more street cred in middle school than getting suspended?
No, that's the like badass boy shit that's gonna get you a lot of attention.
Yep.
Yeah, especially after you eat all those mealworms with a
sweet,
toothpick.
You're nice, and then you drop Fennec Fox fuck boys. You get suspended. Like that's huge. That's big.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't even want to compete any longer.
Well, yeah, you're already out. So
Yeah.
All right. What's the name
you're
of your
gonna dress up
chimpanzee rapping
chipmunks
act?
and let them loose in the class.
I'm doing an Elvin. I'm doing an Elvin and the Chipmunks thing. Just you do yours. You rap. Go on. I'm ripping off something here.
Okay. All right. So I got a chimpanzee, just amazing, just wiling out back there. Maybe he's doing a little ooh, ah, while I'm rapping with me in key, in tune. And our act is going to be called Chimp Hop. That's right. Like hip hop, but chimp hop. That's
Chimp
right.
hop.
I mean, I've won this one. It's not even a question. What's he
Yours
doing?
are both better than Forrest and the Monk Chips, which is the name of
Forrest and the Monk Chips.
That's the name of our act. I will be dressed up in a big.
He might
in a
have
big
saved
F
it with that
t-shirt.
name.
By the way,
Thank
the fucking drama teacher is going to be like, has anyone seen Forrest? He's supposed to be on stage in 30 seconds. They're like, yeah, he didn't understand what a talent show is. He's in the classroom chasing rodents around. All the students are here in the assembly room.
Yeah, there's nobody in there. I don't know what he's doing. That's pretty good. Listen, drop us a vote. Let us know who would win in the talent show. Is it Patrick with the Fennec Fox Fuckboys as they eat the most mealworms in 10 minutes using a toothpick?
Yep.
Is it Peter and the Chimp Hop? Am I saying that right? Chimp Hop, which is drumming chimpanzee while he raps. Or is it Forrest and the Monk Chips, 3 scantily clothed chipmunks running around in pure chaos while I attempt to sing? You let us know.
That's great. It's fucking. You might have won just because it's the dumbest thing you've ever done.
It's really stupid.
Good job, buddy. That's all right. You got COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
COVID
got
brain.
fog brain from the COVID, the long COVID.
Dude, do the thing, Retep. Tell people where to
Yeah,
go, what
so-
to do. Do the thing.
All right, thewildtimespodcast.com/info for all the links to all the places where you can listen to and or watch the podcast. That includes the Patreon, but if you want to get directly to the Patreon, patreon.com/wildtimespod. Wild Times Pod on all the socials. Follow us. Special shout out, thank you to Kyle Fitzgerald. He has been knocking it out of the park with all the clips on YouTube while everybody's been out with COVID and the holidays. So props to him.
Yeah.
And check out that Patreon. We're going to start fucking... Right, boys? We're fucking committing.
Big
fucking
announcements.
Patreon.
Big announcements coming too.
I wouldn't spill the beans yet. We got to get a few I's dotted and T's crossed. But yeah, there's
Okay.
some good stuff coming for sure.
Well,
All right.
thanks everybody. We love you.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, he didn't steal my thing. Gotta get your body into it. Oh, yeah!